One of the hardest things to understand in any distributed environment is what's going on your network, right? So especially if you have a lot of services deployed doing different things, it's hard to know what versions of services are deployed places, when deployments happen. Not only did deployments happen, but was your service flapping? Was it healthy? Was it unhealthy? What happened during the day? Where are things running? These are all kind of hard things to answer. Some tools help. Docker gives us some of this information. But we're now running a service discovery platform everywhere called Sidecar. And Sidecar actually reports on life cycles of services that are showing up in Docker. And it exchanges that information, but it primarily keeps that information all within a single cluster. So a single cluster in our network represents an environment. So we have a production cluster and a dev cluster. And we may have other clusters. And it'd be really nice to have a place where we could have kind of a dashboard of everything that's going on in all those environments, where we could compare versions of things that are running in dev versus things that are running in prod or staging. And so David Sheeran and I built this console called Superside. And because we're looking at multiple sidecars, Superside, if you're not familiar with the name, is actually the Formula One Grand Prix racing for sidecars. So here we are looking at Superside. This is an empty dashboard. This is an environment that nothing's happened. And in real life, this will be hooked up to multiple sidecars, but we've actually built a simulator so we can do some stuff to actually show you what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate the deployment of a service called the David service into the Nitro Dev cluster. So you can see there's a bunch of stuff going on here, and it's in faster than real time because we're just trying to get some stuff done. But what you can see here is in this left column, we've got a bunch of just kind of events that happened. And then the deployments are actually kind of tracking a more higher level state about what that actually meant. So on the left-hand side, you can see that I've actually gotten something that went from unknown to unhealthy. Now, this is how Sidecar tracks the appearance of a new service. We don't know about it, they have no state about it, so it's unknown. Hasn't been health checked successfully, so it's unhealthy. This is generally the deployment of a new service. So we start tracking the deployment record. And then you can see it actually goes through a few more of these deployments, and then Sidecar checks it as healthy, it comes through as healthy, and then actually at the end we just go ahead and tear it back down, which is what these tombstone records are. So it was kind of a deployment and a teardown. And Sidecar actually propagates these tombstone records so that you can actually have a definitive place at which the service died rather than just deleting it. So Superside tracks this stuff, and it's picked up that we've had a deployment of the David service, that it lasted for 3 seconds here. It affected 5 hosts, and now we can see the state of the David service. It's currently deployed in one environment, the Nitro Dev environment, and it's at version 0.1. Well, let's go ahead and deploy that thing to the prod environment too, because we're ready to go, right? We've tested it, obviously. So here we go. And you can see it's going ahead and deploy. It's a very similar set of events there. Now we got a bunch of stuff over here in this left column. And now you can see the David service is 0.1 in Nitro Dev, 0.1 in Nitro Prod. They were both deployed 0 seconds ago. Well, if we refresh, that'll actually show up as slightly different times. So you can see the real times there. There's actually state being kept on the server side about all this stuff, but what we're actually on also here is a WebSocket, so as events come in, they get pushed. So we've got Nitro Dev, Nitro Prod, David service. Great. This box is gray because the versions match. Now, if I were to go ahead and deploy another version of the David service into Dev, what we'll see is, hey, look, it's orange because they don't match. That's just a warning. It's something you might want to take note of. It's probably normal. Lots of times we don't have the same version in Dev. But we also want to push frequently, right? So after 24 hours, if I look at this console, this box won't be orange, it'll be red, saying, hey, you know what? They're not the same version, and they've been not the same version for a while, and that's probably something that you should do something about. Now, we can also see there's 3 deployments here. I've got the original deployment that I did of the 0.1 in Dev, and I've got, to prod in 0.1, and now here's our 0.2. So let's deploy the 0.1 version of the Carl service. We'll go ahead and do that. As you can see, the Carl service shows up over here, and We can go ahead and deploy, another version of the curl service as well. Let that go into dev. So I think you get a feel what's happening here, but there's a lot of events now that have come through here, and maybe we want to see, if I'm trying to debug something, I'm like, hey, something happened. I really want to know what happened today with the prod environment, and I really don't care about what was happening in dev because I'm debugging a production issue, and look, I've been able to filter down to just the production stuff. Or maybe I want to see all environments, but I really only want to see the curl service. And so I can filter down to just the events that affected the curl service, which might be pretty interesting. I can filter deployments as well. If I've got a lot of deployments that happen today, I can filter down to just production deployments and see the ones that I'm caring about there. You can see I've got this, the only one that we've deployed today is 0.1, 5 hosts. This is all based on kind of some API that sits behind here. So if we have other things that need to consume this, we can actually pull in the JSON data. You can see JSON data sitting there. Same thing is true for the raw events. And this thing is actually built in Go. All of this is getting served out of the same little Go web server that's built in. And it's got some circular buffers that it uses for tracking this stuff, so you can just pound events into it all day long. It doesn't really care about speed. It's all just stored in memory, and then has an asynchronous flush to disk for a state, so when we reload this thing later, it works. You can also save to Redis. There's a bunch of other stuff, but I think you get the idea. Hopefully give us a new view on what's happening in our environment, and have a console where we can go to try to understand things when we're trying to debug.